Alright, so now what steps we did over here today, if I have to explore it into an edit query, let's see. These things, what we do as step, is also known as shaping the data. When you manipulate the raw data into a standard data which would be consumed by Power BI, all the steps what you do to make those changes are known as shaping of data. The process is known as shaping. It's another term used very commonly while transposing the data. So very quickly, if we have to review the transform tab and just to bring everything on the single plate, what I would say is initially we bought varied source of data. It could be from these data or some blank queries which would generate data on its own. So whatever data is brought into the system comes from these sources. It can be in a form of query, or it can be form of tables, or it can be from different varied sources. You can have multiple sources of data in this Power BI talking to each other. If it is a multi-source and not all of them are of the load type, few of them are of direct query, and in then you have an option opened up for you which is many to many relationship. The relationship will help you drive the filters in the front end as we see in our next learning session. Also, once the data is in with Power BI, you've cleansed the data, and cleansing, shaping, transforming, all or applying steps all mean the same thing. You can invariably use all of them interchangeably and make use and you can clean the data for the consumption in Power BI reports. That is the next step. What we saw over here today is how did we create a repetitive steps get converted into a function by making that steps into a parameterized call. As soon as a parameter was added, it turned into a function, and then function was called in another step in some other transformation. We saw a couple of two steps. One is insert step after, which is very helpful to add a function or call a function rather in some other place. Whereas extract previous after, that is one thing. Also, extract previous helps you to eliminate a repetitive step or an unwanted step out of this section. So when you have this thing, you can do an extract previous and continue with whatever is left as a function. So extract previous followed by insert step after is very helpful to basically define a function and calling the function respectively. Very key important point so that you don't waste time repeating the same steps over and over again with a tendency of making any mistake. Then let's review what all things are present in this ribbon for one last time. One, this is close and apply means you have saved and applying whatever transformations you've done to this set of query or a table. Apply means you have just saved it but not pushed it actually to the Power BI desktop, and close means undoing what you've done. Where data sources comes from this tab, you can have as many data sources or some blank queries. You saw this. Whatever the sources you used most recently would be thrown up on these recent sources. You can create your own data using enter data. You can have a data source setting, which is more kind of a controlling section or security mechanism, as in you can change the data source, you can add the data source. You can see yourself that we have a SQL server, we have a CSV, XLS, a page, and a different service. So at least 4 kind of data is in front of us. You can change the permission, as in do you want to have a privacy level, or you want to make it private, or up till the organization or anybody in the who's logged in into the system can view, or nobody can view. So all this is present. You can revoke the approvals if you have given like that. You can change the credentials of your servers which you are trying to connect to. That is the second piece of it. You can set global permissions to all the settings which are available publicly if that's the case, and you can change the settings by giving them full access, all access. So there are four kinds of privacy level: private, organizational, public, and none. Then what we'll do is we say manage parameters. It's less used feature, but you can yourself explore it to add parameters and use those parameters. It's more like a variables which you can keep using in them in your queries. Refresh preview and refresh all. If whatever you see is not reflecting the changes what you've done, you can do a refresh preview and it refreshes the screen. Properties window, you can set two of the properties. Do you want it to load on the report the same table or no? Do you want to have it loaded in the refresh? Sometimes there are some static tables which you may not want to get refreshed on daily basis. In that case, you can uncheck it and save it. And do you want the table to be available on the report? You can check it. Yes, you want it. Then you have it on the reports as in the Power BI service. This is what the Power BI service, the visualizations which are generally available, and some additional visualization which you can import. The ways to import is coming up very soon in your next learning session. You can choose the columns which you want to have. Are you sure you want to insert a step? Inserting an intermediate step may affect subsequent step. So it is writing over here. So if you say here and you say choose column, then probably it adds a new step. And what column do you want to choose is what you see over here. The active status is not available if you see it carefully because we removed it. Keep rows to the top, keep rows to there. If you want to keep the duplicates, you can do it so that things are there. You can remove rows, you can remove the blank rows if there are some extra values, or you can remove the duplicate values based on your need. You can remove the top row, you can remove the bottom row. These are all transformation steps. It's more like a predefined step which you can make use of rather than thinking of how to get things done. You can sort your content or a column based on a particular format. So you can sort it DEHM. You can split the column based on some special characters. So one is too many, and then you can remove it by doing removing it from here from the applied steps. You have other functions such as you want to by delimiter, by numbers, by positions, by lowercase to uppercase, by uppercase to lowercase, digit to non-digit, etc. You can group certain columns based on the count of repeatability, but due to the data set what we have, we don't see any repeatable stuff over here, rather the building name. So if we say building name and you say count of rows, then it would give you 4. So this is one of the grouping. So basically you've hidden that piece. You can do this by making a query into this section or rather calling it directly over here. So you can preserve the original table and you can have a grouping table if you have a query in place. If you know what I mean. So grouping does help you to aggregate based on certain things, and that will help you. You can do a replace. You can use a very much frequented use, and by default Power BI recognize this is the use first row as header. You can change the data type into one of these as and when you need. Merge queries and append queries. Merge queries is an advanced topic where you want to get a repetitive file with the same content and you want to merge both of them. Then you may merge the queries.